Good afternoon, welcome to this Ensley Insurance League Division 1 game. Sunderland against Millwall. It's a bright, crisp afternoon, and it's going to be a bright, crisp game between the two top sides in the Division 1 table. Millwall, who lead the Red and Whites of Sunderland by just 2 goals. And so if Sunderland do manage to pull back on that margin this afternoon in beating Millwall, then they'll go very convincingly top of the table with 2 games in hand as well. So a win this afternoon will put Sunderland 3 points clear of the side from the New Den. And of course, as I say, the Wearsiders have also got 2 games in hand. But of course, this afternoon, Sunderland have been hit by injuries and suspensions. There's no Paul Bracewell again, of course. He's still receiving treatment for his hernia. He's had his operation. He's all right, but we await his recuperation. David Kelly is out injured, having unluckily trod on a shoelace as he was leaving the field at the end of last week's successful game against Crystal Palace, and so that's unluckily ruled him out today. And of course, Kevin Ball starts the first of a 3-match suspension this afternoon, so the persistent and aggressive Sunderland skipper isn't in action this afternoon, and he'll be disappointed about that. So we've got a few changes in the Sunderland side, and we welcome back, in fact, Martin Gray, who's been on a loan spell at Fulham, and he takes his place in the following Sunderland side. There's Alec Chamberlain in goal. The back 4, Darius Kabitsky, Andy Melville, Richard Ord, who captains the side today, and Martin Scott. And in midfield we've got Michael Gray, Steve Agnew, Martin Gray. He's made 2 starts this season, has Martin Gray, against Norwich City and against Preston North End in the Coca-Cola Cup, and Martin Smith. And up front we've got Craig Russell and Phil Gray. Phil on 6 goals, of course, came on as sub last week. And the substitutes for Sunderland this afternoon, John Mullin, Lee Howie, and welcome back Gordon Armstrong. For Millwall, in goal, they've got Casey Keller, and he'll get an interesting mixed reception from the crowd this afternoon after his involvement with Don Goodman in that little skirmish down at the New Den last season. And then their back 4, we've got Jerry Lavin, Keith Stevens, a captain who was sent off on Tuesday night when Millwall lost at home to Charlton. He was on 20 points already, and so to be sent off into the bargain simply compounded his suspension for the near future. And then welcome back to Roker Park, Anton Rogan, popular player here, came here during the run to the cup final in 91-92 from Celtic and moved on to join Dennis Smith down at Oxford United. There's Anton, and nice to see him here. Very accomplished central defender here, came as a left back in fact, but really showed his true spurs in the centre of the Sunderland defence. Moved on to Oxford United and then now at the New Den. And at number 3 left back we've got Ben Thatcher, very promising player indeed, and watched by a lot of the big clubs. And then in midfield we've got Maurice Doyle, David Savage, Alex Ray and Jason Van Blurk, the Australian. Up front Uwe Fuchs and Chris Malkin, and the substitutes specifically is Lee McRobert, Rick Newton and Scott Taylor. And the mascot for this afternoon, young Michael Carr, aged 10 years of age there, interested in cricket and football. He goes off the field. The referee, Mr. Eddie Lomas from Lancashire, gets ready to get this game underway. The eyes of the country very much on this particular game this afternoon. Sunderland against Millwall, the battle really to put a lot of daylight between the leaders in the Ensley First Division and the rest of the pack. Darius Kabitsky playing his 90th game, flicks it forward. Steve Agnew, a tenacity there, coming into his own since perhaps Paul Bracewell's been made idle because of his hernia problems, but Steve had a very convincing first half against Crystal Palace last week. At first blood in the free kick stakes to Palace. It's going to be Ben Thatcher who will eventually take this free kick, and Sunderland defence should get it away. One of the meanest rear guards in the division. But it's Millwall, no doubt under orders, showing first blood. Maurice Doyle putting the ball across. Agnew to Martin Scott. Martin Scott and Ben Thatcher, 2 of the most promising left backs in the country, against each other this afternoon. Uwe Fuchs, £700,000 from Kaiserslautern, across to Thatcher. Andy Melville's there, having a very fine season indeed, Andy Melville. Peter Reid's restored a lot of his faith and confidence. Doyle, no danger there for Alec Chamberlain. Bright start. Millwall inevitably looking positive. Their recent record is far from good. They haven't won, in fact, since the 11th of November. They've only taken 2 points out of their last 5 games. They've lost their last 2 games at home. Won it against Watford last Saturday, courtesy of a horrific blunder by this man, Casey Keller, United States goalkeeper. They lost that 2-1 to Glenn Roeder's side, and then they lost in midweek at home again to Charlton 2-0. Prior to that, they'd lost at Stoke 1-0. So Mick McCarthy's side come to Roker Park on the back of a rather depressing record, whereas Sunderland, of course, looking for their 4th home league win on the trot. They've only lost 1 of the last 13 games, and so inevitably everybody here on Wearside full of confidence. Uwe Fuchs played such an important part in getting Middlesbrough into the Premiership last season, and perhaps some people were rather surprised when Brian Robson didn't make his move to Teesside permanent. Andy Melville now. Playing so well for Wales. Knocked nicely down by Craig Russell. Michael Gray, he's had a very good season indeed. Another player responding very much to the freedom that Peter Reid has given him out on the wing. And referee Eddie Lomas going to have a word there with Alex Ray, the fiery Scotsman, once of Falkirk, been a leading scorer for Millwall in the last 2 seasons, and wants to argue the toss with Mr. Lomas, but he's not the sort of official that players can treat lightly, and it's a useful looking free kick to this for Sunderland. This one, Michael Gray, played so well this season. Curl this one in, absolutely no wind at all this afternoon. Millwall back predictably in numbers. Craig Russell making a start, a welcome start this afternoon. He's been out this season, of course, and he's managed to get a couple of goals to his credit so far this season. One man who would love to score again against Millwall, of course, is Martin Smith. He's only got 1 goal this season, but that was down at the New Den. And Michael Gray. Oh, my goodness me, nearly an opening first blood to Phil Gray there. Nice in-swinging corner there from Michael Gray, and his namesake Phil has been at odds with the management. Times his run well here. Look, into the 6-yard area, gets it well, and perhaps might have just got over it and nodded it down. As it was, topped it, and it went just over the bar. Phil Gray nearly added to his tally of 6 goals this season. And Alec Chamberlain, who's only conceded 15, in fact, in the league, had an outstanding season. Steve Agnew, Martin Smith, Agnew, so creative, looking in good form today. Not a bad cross, promising opening there by Sunderland. Agnew looks to the crowd, looks for encouragement from the Fulwell end, and he'll get it aplenty from a crowd of around 20,000 this afternoon. Left wing corner to Sunderland now, some 4 minutes into the game. Anton Rogan, he knows the surroundings here very, very well, marshalling the Millwall defence. As it's Martin Smith clips it across, well, disappointing. I don't know whether he kept it low, but it certainly surprised the Millwall defence, but they scrambled it round there. In fact, it was Uwe Fuchs, the German striker, who's back in defence, who put that one behind. Millwall's on the rack here, over it comes to Agnew. Nicely taken there by Casey Keller. He'll probably miss quite a few games from Millwall, in fact, just after the new year, because he's got a fair number of commitments for the United States. And that might give an opportunity to an old friend of ours here, Tim Carter, who's on the Millwall books. In fact, we were rather hoping that he might have made the subs bench this afternoon. But Tim, who's had a lot of clubs, he might well get on the team sheet at Millwall after the new year. Craig Russell, no scorers yet, of course. Well policed there by Anton Rogan. Northern Ireland international, in fact. Made his name initially with Celtic, but was then capped by Northern Ireland. But a sound player. A lot of people were rather sorry to see him leave Roker Park. Darius Kabitsky now. Long one. Oh, my goodness me. Yes, it looked as if there was a certain amount of confusion in that Millwall defence there. Something nearly got in. And Casey Keller just a little uncertain with his handling there. No scorers yet. Some 6 minutes gone. And here it comes, the long throw again. Good header by Melville there, and Martin Smith nearly got on the end of it. But Keller came out, got his defence out of jail. Lavin. Forward to Savage, and Savage opening play out across to Thatcher, and Thatcher across to his opposite number there, Martin Scott, who nodded a touch on this side of the field. Certainly when Millwall played here last year in the Coca-Cola Cup, and they knocked Sunderland out of the Coca-Cola Cup over the two legs, a posse of top managers came to watch Ben Thatcher and Martin Smith that night. Alex Ferguson, Manchester United, and Roy Evans from Liverpool. And that's going to cause no problems to Alec Chamberlain. And quite a promising start, quite an attractive start, and certainly of the two goalkeepers, Casey Keller has had the more to do at the Millwall end. As Alec Chamberlain teased this one up, and certainly he's had tremendous protection from his rear guard this season. Sunderland having conceded only 15 goals in the Championship, Millwall 21. Martin Smith back to Scott there, high up and under. Sunderland varying their play somewhat, and of course without Paul Bracewell, then perhaps they'll have to remember to maintain their shape. This is Alex Ray, threw it out for Fuchs. Fuchs could get the cross in here, pulls it back, surprised a few people. It wasn't a very good one. Ray wasn't there. Agnew read it well, and Sunderland have a good chance to counter-attack here. Through Martin Smith, brought down there. Crowd don't like it. Referee says play on, and it's Phil Gray here. Has he got anybody up with him? Chips it in the end, gets under it, took a bobble, puts his hand out to acknowledge that perhaps he might have done better with a square ball, and Casey Keller breathes again. Phil Gray, perhaps disappointed, no doubt, to be missing out on the European Nations Championships this next year with Northern Ireland. Dave Savage just going into referee Eddie Lomas's notebook there for that ill-judged challenge on Martin Smith, clipped him, and the crowd were not slow to express their disapproval. Martin Smith again shows no ill effects. Flicked out nicely by Craig Russell. Up comes Kubicki now. 90th game for Sunderland. He hasn't scored yet. Drills it in. Keller goes down. Saves well, but another good effort by Kubicki. He's been encouraged by Peter Reid to get forward, get into shooting positions, and have a go. He did that against Crystal Palace. It's a fine surging run through. Gets the ball again on his left foot. Not perhaps his strongest foot, but it was a good, crisp shot all along the ground, and Keller was really stretched to take it. Martin Scott back to Alec Chamberlain. Millwall going to get a free kick there, bit of backing in by Phil Gray, and that's going to be Keith Stevens, the captain, with a great record for Millwall in terms of appearances, 430 appearances, and that's the Sunderland skipper today, Richard Orr. His differences last season with the Roker club, but he really has had a good season at the heart of their defence. A quick word by referee Lomas for Chris Malkin, the former Tranmere Rovers striker. Always found goals hard to come by away from home, Chris Malkin. Let's hope that applies today. Prolific scorer at Prenton Park, but not too good on his travels. Martin Scott. Phil Gray, persistent, challenging. Loss of the hair doesn't seem to have affected him particularly. And that's going to be a throw which Martin Scott will take. In tremendous form this season, the ex-Bristol City player. Martin Smith can't quite control that one, and it's going to be Millwall who get the throw. But Martin Smith, England under-21 man last season, of course, shed a bit of weight last close season, and he looks as if he's coming back to his best form. Kubicki, never missed a game since he joined Sunderland from Aston Villa, initially on loan, and the Polish international has certainly proved his worth to the club, particularly at a time when John Kay, of course, was undergoing yet another broken leg problem. Lovely afternoon for football. Kubicki, Michael Gray flicks on. Phil Gray misses it, and it's hacked clear by Stevens there for Millwall. Nodded back to Martin Scott. And Millwall bring it down a little. Right back Jerry Lavin. Forward there to Dutch Doyle. Savage inside. Nicely cut out there by Richard Orr. Back now to Martin Gray. Nice to see Martin Gray back after his spell at Fulham. Sunderland's injury crisis prompted his recall, and when he moved south to Craven Cottage, he wasn't doing too badly in midfield, and it's good to see him back in the red and white shirt today. Millwall, of course, managed by Mick McCarthy, 57 caps for the Republic of Ireland, and tipped by some as a possible successor to Jack Charlton if Big Jack decides that enough's enough later this summer. That looks like, well, I thought it was Sunderland's ball too, Richard Ord. So Richard wasn't too happy with the linesman, and it's Thatcher who takes the throw for Millwall there, and it's Martin Scott. With a long ball cut out there, and Savage equally not having much joy down this left side, and Sunderland knocking it about quite nicely. That's Andy Melville, who certainly delighted the Welsh hierarchy, Bobby Gould, the manager in particular, with his performances for the Principality so far this season. Kubicki now threading it through for Craig Russell to get across to, but it was just expecting a bit much, and there was no real threat to the Millwall defence there. Sunderland, remember, 2 games in hand on Millwall, and 2 goals worse off than Millwall. That's all that keeps Peter Reid's men from being top of the Division 1 table. That may well alter by the end of this afternoon. Martin Gray went in there with his elbow, has caught Uwe Fuchs, just checking to see if all his teeth are still there, and then that's going to be a free kick to Millwall, and Martin Gray marks his return to Roker Park with his name going into the referee's notebook. Referee Eddie Lomas from Salford, from the National Health Trust, in fact. Sounds appropriate if there are any injuries, as Thatcher takes the free kick. Martin Scott jumps well, and a bit of challenging there from Phil Gray, but Millwall haven't given this one up, but Sunderland getting everybody behind the ball, and Steve Agnew very much in the thick of things. Ray there, Alex Ray, forward to Fuchs, Martin Gray, Steve Agnew involved again. Agnew and Gray trying to win the ball, but Millwall have it, and that won't cause any problems to Alec Chamberlain. Alex Ray, top scorer for Millwall in the last 2 years, came from Falkirk. He made 83 appearances for Falkirk before he came south of the border. He's a Scottish under-21 player, and there are quite a few people feel that if he wasn't with Millwall, if he was with a Premiership club, then he'd certainly have made the Scottish international squad before now. Another player in form there, Alec Chamberlain. Steve Agnew. Alex Ray. And now Michael Gray. Oh, that's a good one. Out to Craig Russell. Craig's going to turn it back to Martin Smith. Not a bad cross, tantalising, but hung there too long for Phil Gray, really. And Sunderland keep up the pressure, though. And this is going to be Martin Gray. Well, it's going to be Michael Gray who takes the throw. It's going to be Michael. Kubicki. This could be interesting. Oh, now, yes, penalty, no doubt about it at all. Phil Gray turned very quickly on Anton Rogan. His legs went, and there seemed to be little doubt at all that collision. Watch it now. There we are, straight down. There seemed to be little doubt there that the tackle by one Northern Ireland international on another was going to bring about a penalty kick. So this could be first blood to Sunderland after some 13 minutes. And it's got to be Martin Scott, scorer of 2 penalties already. Nice one. Sunderland, a goal up. No problem, says Martin Scott. One finger in the air, but in fact that's his 3rd penalty success of the season. It's his 4th goal. The other one came from a free kick against Watford. Very cool. Casey Keller dived completely the wrong way, and so Martin Scott's 4th goal of the season puts Sunderland a goal up, probably deservedly so, in terms of pressure and in terms of bringing the opposing goalkeeper into play. And credit also to Phil Gray, whose very quick turn in the penalty area there caused Anton Rogan to be a little rash in the challenge, and there seemed little doubt that it was a penalty. Martin Scott really delighted everybody, I think, since he came from Bristol City, and with Gary Hours, the fee going the other way, and Martin Gray now. Kubicki with the long one. That's a good variation of ball. Sometimes Sunderland play it along the deck through the middle, other times go for the long one. That was the long one, just too far ahead of Craig Russell. David Kelly injured today, injured in the last second on Sunday. That's going to be a throw to Millwall. Roker fans predictably in good shape, in good voice. Not too many Millwall fans have made the journey. In fact, Fuchs now. Got all those red and white shirts back in defence as Agnew belts it clear. Hammered on again there by Michael Gray. And Millwall will take the throw. Good crowd, as you would expect today, as the Roker managerial team looking very satisfied so far. Bobby Saxton, middle. Paul Bracewell had his hernia operation, recovering now. Steve Smelt. Pop Robson in charge of the reserves there. Good to see his experience again at Roker with the wide parting. And it's going to be a throw into Millwall. Fuchs puts himself about, busy player, and he's not there to get on the end of that, and Chamberlain's got all the time in the world to deal with that. Yes, Uwe Fuchs might have thought he was unlucky not to get a contract at Teesside, but Brian Robson in the end decided to go for Jan Fjortoft as his overseas player, and he hasn't let him down, but certainly Uwe Fuchs didn't either last season. That's Jason van Blurk, despite his name is Australian, not making any real impression on this game as yet. And Anton Rogan's header into touch on the far side of the field. He was the man who tripped Phil Gray in the 13th minute to produce a penalty for Sunderland. That's too near. Keller takes that very comfortably. There's no real breeze to affect the crosses today. Perfectly still day. Absolutely beautiful day for football. Doyle, Malkin, Doyle, Lavin. Some pretty stuff from Millwall here, but not getting too far forward with it. Melville, nice little header out of defence. And Martin Scott, Sunderland goal scorer. Sunderland 1 up and looking good at the moment, particularly in view of those who can't play today. Oh, Craig Russell's away. Now then, got an opportunity here. Support in the middle, not quite. Steve Agnew not quite with it. Martin Gray is. Useful chip. Phil Gray couldn't get on the end of it. That's Craig Russell. Now then, Martin Scott. Good header. Didn't quite get on the end of it there. Phil Gray put himself about and goes into touch on the side of the field. Martin Smith now looking for the throw from Martin Scott, but it goes to Steve Agnew. Looking a polished performer, Steve Agnew, this afternoon. Martin Gray didn't make the best use of that, and it's Ben Thatcher. I don't think we'll stay at Millwall too long, particularly if they don't get up into the Premiership at the end of this season. Both Thatcher and Alex Ray featured in the PFA's selected 11 at the end of last season for the NC League Division 1 team, and that's Kubicki in front of the Sunderland bench there. A bit of air ball, and it's going to be a free kick to Millwall. Martin Gray, the transgressor. He was a clutch of midfield players here, all trying to get into the side, and so it was then that Martin was declared surplus to requirements and went off down to Hull, to Fulham rather. Thatcher with a kick. Hoofed on there by Martin Gray. Now Martin Smith down the left. Both Sunderland's wide players are essentially left-footers. Martin Scott on the overlap. Craig Russell charging in there and puts Millwall under pressure and gets the corner kick. Craig Russell on 2 goals this season, but he's looked sharp. He had a rather erratic time last term, but he's been on the ball this time. Steve Agnew with the corner. Martin Gray. Now Michael Gray. Into no man's land there. Linesman's flag. Got it up? No. And Casey Keller's got plenty of time to think about this. Yes, the linesman's flag was up for offside, and Millwall will be relieved to clear this. Sunderland 1, Millwall 0 then, and definitely Sunderland looking the better side, the more likely side at the moment. Remember, a win today, if you need reminding, will put the Wearsiders clear at the top of the First Division table with 2 games in hand. Andy Melville there, very much in command, enjoying his football this season with Sunderland and with Wales, and shouting, which is the essential requirement for any good central defender, organising the defence, and that's paid dividends this season. Jason Van Blurk there, the Australian, standing or giving instructions to the Millwall side, giving instructions probably to the referee about the wall. And here it is, who will curl it in with his left foot to the far side. Fuchs is there, nods it down for Ray, volley by Ray. Well, a possibility, it was a shooting chance. He was allowed a bit of space. It's the first time that any of the Millwall players have been allowed any room, and he perhaps might have done better. Here's a header down. Ray's there, left foot over the top of the in-rushing Sunderland defence, and no real problem for Alec Chamberlain. So the Scotsman just off the mark, and Chamberlain with a kick. So there's no Bracewell this afternoon, no David Kelly, and no Kevin Bourne. Kevin's suspended, of course. No, Martin Smith wasn't going to get round Lavin, really. I think he's got the free kick. Didn't really see him any chance that he was going to get round the outside. Here it is. He tries to flick it to the outside and go round, but in went Lavin, and they shall not pass. And so Sunderland have got the free kick, which Martin Scott will take, and the big men are up. Over it comes. And, well, was he held? Well, certainly Craig Russell reckons that, and Richard Ord there, reckon that he was held, that arms were up, and he was pulled out. And referee Lomas just having words with the Sunderland skipper. And Richard Ord not looking too happy about that. Doesn't get any chance to play cricket these days. Richard Ord used to be a cricketer with Merton, quite a useful one, but the requirements and length of the season now put that out of the question. Played very well in the centre of the Sunderland defence this season, as has Andy Melville. Didn't quite get that one away. Martin Gray did. Phil Gray tried to find Michael Gray. All the Grays on parade today. And Malkin missing out there. Sunderland clear comfortably enough. Long, and that was Keith Stevens, the Millwall captain. Very good captain too, but his collection of yellow cards means that he'll be suspended around about Christmas time. And it's Kubicki with a throw. Michael Gray not getting a great deal of change out of that side of the Millwall defence this afternoon so far. Halfway through the first period, and that Martin Scott goal for Sunderland after 13 minutes separates the sides. A good clearance by Martin Scott. Too far for Craig Russell though. Stevens back to Keller. And Keller with the full end breathing down his neck, waiting for him to miss it. Cleared it. And Martin Scott looking for the spaces near the corners there. But Phil Gray couldn't get there in time. But the crowd enjoying this lead. It's a good crowd, as you'd expect for this tabletop game. And of course the prospect of home games against Grimsby and Birmingham City to come as well, who are promotion challengers in this very tight Division 1 table. But before that they've got to go to Reading and Derby County in the next fortnight, and that can be a tall order because there's not a great deal of daylight between the sides, but certainly Derby are a useful side. Reading perhaps not quite so. Michael Gray there trying to get round, but Millwall have done their homework on him, I think. But he's got the throw there. and it'll be Kabitsky. He had an injury last week. In fact, the injury went right through to the bone in his leg, and so there was a slight doubt about him, but happily he's okay. Agnew really putting himself about here, always in the thick of the action. Referee didn't like the way he put himself about there, and so that's going to be a free kick to Millwall. But Steve Agnew had a lot of bad luck through injuries this season, and it's nice to see that now he's back in the side. He's really playing full of confidence. He scored 1 goal, and he's taken over the Paul Bracewell mantle for the moment. Now that's sprayed too wide there. Fuchs won't catch that, and it'll be a throw-in to Sunderland, one would imagine, which Martin Scott will take. Martin Smith makes himself available. And Millwall now. Ball out. Ball had gone over the line there, and that's going to be a throw-in to Sunderland. 1-0. Martin Scott's 4th goal of the season, his 3rd penalty, after Phil Gray brought down by Anton Rogan. No real complaint from Millwall on that one. And Mick McCarthy's table-topping side certainly haven't had a great deal to offer so far this afternoon. They've been thwarted by this very sound, solid, safe Sunderland rearguard. And if Sunderland win this, as if you need reminding, they're firmly top of the league. They'll be 3 points clear. They've got 2 games in hand, and it's Christmas come early. Alec Chamberlain ended last season on loan to Liverpool, and yet it's a mark of his increasing confidence that he's playing as well as at any time in his career. Millwall throw in front of the Sunderland bench. Peter Reid hasn't come down there yet, which is perhaps a sign of the confidence he's got in his team and the way they're playing. As the defence repel another Millwall invasion, but Michael Gray being very closely challenged. That was a quick layoff to Martin Gray, and Millwall turn his clearance into touch. Certainly Millwall would be the team Sunderland would fear in terms of real challengers. Derby County are another possibility. Tranmere Rovers, who've played 1 game less than Sunderland, in fact, and are currently 3 points behind them, 4 points behind them. Now, this looks promising. Can Russell get in? No. Lavin for Millwall. Nice little touch by Savage. Sets Doyle going. But, certainly the Millwall midfield haven't set the game alight and haven't really posed too many problems for Sunderland. That's a nice confident ball across, which illustrates the how easy Sunderland feel on the ball these days. 1 defeat in 13 games, remember. Agnew, very much the hub this afternoon. Scott. Phil Gray again, putting in the pressure. Anton Rogan nodding into touch. And this useful position here for Sunderland. Martin Scott, their goal scorer. But Millwall read that one, and there was no real danger coming from that. Now, is Fuchs going to get away here? Might just manage to slip Richard Ord. And that's Jason Van Blurk, the Australian, out on the left. That's Thatcher. And that's Alex Ray. Van Blurk. And this is quite a promising Millwall move. Now this is Fuchs. His close dribble didn't come off. Martin Gray there with a persistent challenge. Van Blurk. Michael Gray won it well. Sunderland getting players right behind the ball. Tremendous willingness to work hard. Doyle. Thatcher. Now, Millwall trying to create something. Just coming into it now. Not a bad cross. Oh, my goodness me. That was moments of anxiety in the Sunderland defence. It was skipper Richard Ord who got there in the end, and sliced it over the bar, but really, Uwe Fuchs nearly got away. Watch him, onto the far side of the goal, just wide of the far post, and he manages to flick it back, and it looked really as if Alec Chamberlain had it covered, but Richard Ord was there just in time anyway, and just in case, to whip it over the bar. Oh, that's a wretched one from Doyle. Sunderland dispatched that fairly quickly, but Millwall having a useful spell just at the moment. Lovely ball from Agnew now. Martin Smith. Has he got support though? Yes, great run through the middle there. In fact, great run there by Craig Russell. Oh, that's a great goal. Craig Russell, superb run there. Martin Smith just held up his run, delayed things till Craig Russell overtook him, released it at just the right time, and Craig Russell timed his left foot shot so beautifully, just inside that upright. Here it comes again. Martin Smith brings it down beautifully on his left foot while still keeping moving. Look at Craig Russell going through the middle like a tank, just inside the area. Cracks it wide of Casey Keller. What a superbly orchestrated goal. So we've been playing for half an hour. Martin Scott, the scorer of the first goal from the penalty spot, and now Craig Russell makes it 2-0. And Sunderland can already see that league table with themselves sitting 3 points ahead of Millwall and 2 games in hand. So the sun's shining in more ways than one at Roker Park. Agnew to Scott. Martin Smith putting Lavin under pressure, and inevitably, of course, Sunderland with their tails up, and free kick given against Sunderland there after Steve Agnew went in, and well done Craig Russell, player of great promise here at Sunderland. He's perhaps hasn't moved as quickly as some people felt he would in terms of development, but he is young, and a lot was expected of him in the days when the team was struggling, and he certainly took his goal very well, and that's a lovely ball then across to Phil Gray. Now what can Phil Gray do? Can he get a shot? Delayed his shot, and he pulled it across the goal. Didn't quite get the momentum going there. He was being closed down as he ran through, and he wasn't really going to get full power on that, but he's had his differences over the last fortnight, Phil Gray, but as ever, he's giving 110% out here. Now his touch there just takes the ball a bit too far forward, and he really couldn't get over the ball to get enough power and body weight behind the shot. So, in terms of pressure, in terms of putting pressure on the opposing goalkeeper, well, certainly Sunderland have it and lead deservedly by 2 goals to none. Savage now tries to get it through, but sense that it's the Sunderland defence's day at the moment, and Millwall haven't got too much to offer. Malkin has been a non-entity really, and now it's fullback Lavin to Stevens. Savage. Promising run, but Agnew again. What a great job tidying up in midfield. Look at that. Ran out of its sight. It was a good challenge by Malkin though. Must have heard my comment about it a moment ago. Savage now drills it across, and Van Blurk too far in. Nobody wide there for Millwall, but there is for Sunderland here. Michael Gray. And the linesman's flag was up, and there it is, down there. So, Martin Scott's 4th goal of the season, Craig Russell's 3rd goal of the season. Make it Sunderland 2, Millwall 0, and that should make the pies taste all that much nicer at half-time. Kubicki there, toppled unceremoniously. Thatcher runs it into touch, and he's had a throw into Sunderland. Now they're going to get a free kick for it. They're going to get a throw in, and the referee there, Eddie Lomas, goes over and has a quick word with Paul Bracewell in the Sunderland dugout. I don't know what that was all about, and a bit of coaching from the sidelines perhaps. Very competently read there by Richard Orr, confidently cleared. Stevens in the centre of the Millwall defence, nodding it back. He's going to have to repeat the exercise. And Millwall really have been outfought in midfield here. Sunderland have been tigerish all the time. Let's see what Fuchs can do now. If Millwall got to pull one goal back, that brings a bit of unease into the leading side, but they don't really look like it. This is Ray. Savage, cut out straight away by Martin Smith there. Now Craigless scored the second goal. Good run on his game today, full of running, full of bounce, full of confidence, as this fellow is as well. And a right foot cross, didn't quite come off that time. Michael Gray. Kubicki, he would love to get on the score sheet. This is his 90th game, hasn't hit the target yet, hasn't hit the back of the net yet, I should say. But not that time. It'll be Lavin. Again, tenacity there by Sunderland in the middle of the field, wins the ball. Scott goes for the long one. Phil Gray. Beaten out of it by Stevens, and Sunderland welcome the throw. 2-0. And still about 8 or 9 minutes to half-time. Scott with the long one. Martin Smith now, nice little layoff. Agnew in command in midfield, having a great opening 45 minutes. But it's Malkin who gets away. Onto Tranmere, £400,000 worth of striker. And not a very good ball. He was under pressure from the Sunderland defence, and there was no real way that Fuchs was going to get that, despite what he said. And persevering there, trying to unsettle Alec Chamberlain. It's a sign of frustration as much as anything, that I think. And Martin Scott will clear at his leisure. Martin Smith now beautifully brought down with his right foot this time. When he created the last goal, it was with his left, and that was with his right. Couldn't quite bring it down to give to Phil Gray. Andy Melville there, harassing Savage, pushing Millwall back all the time. Sunderland always getting plenty of men behind the ball. Now they'll have a bit of space now, the Londoners, but that was a good challenge from Kubicki. It looks as if he's got Jason Van Blurk under control on the far side of the field, the Australian. And that's Martin Gray covering on the far side of the field, pushing from behind by Melville, use of the arms, and that's going to be a free kick to Millwall. And certainly the Welsh revival late on in the European Nations competition, I think, was due in no small measure to Andy Melville's improved form and the confidence that he's got from playing in this efficient Sunderland defence. Now lined up for Ray, drills it, swinging wide. Chamberlain felt there was no problem, and exchange of views between Alex Ray and one or two teammates. Let it run too far, if you watch him here, and he hits it with the outside of his foot, and it was always swinging well wide of the Roker end goal, defended by Alec Chamberlain now. 2-0 to Sunderland. One or two people going down the stairs for the cup of tea or coffee and the pies, and they'll be able to savour those this afternoon on the back of this 2-0 scoreline at the moment. Melville to Chamberlain, and Sunderland prepared to play themselves out of trouble. Got a lot of shape. Now then, Phil Gray trying to bustle past Anton Rogan again. The last time they clashed, it was a penalty to Sunderland, which Martin Scott opened the scoring with. And that time Rogan wins it, clears into touch. He did express momentary surprise when the penalty was awarded against him, Anton Rogan, so he might just have a slight shunner on his way to the dressing room at the half-time. But it's a left-wing corner to Sunderland, which it's going to be Michael Gray. Right foot, out comes Keller, a long way. Decided straight away that it was going to be his, and he came out and he took it very well. a good keeper on his day, but he had a stinker against Watford last Saturday and really gifted Glenn Roeder's side the 3 points. Lost their last 3 games, Millwall. Let's see what Van Blurk can do. Took a bobble there, and his left foot shot went high over the bar. Lost their last 3 games, Millwall. Last 2 at home to Charlton and Watford. They then lost at Stoke, and they've only taken 2 points out of their last 5 games. Whereas Sunderland have won 3, drawn 1 and lost 1 of their last 5 games. The Roker men have only lost 1 in the last 13 league games. Having a great run. Amazing the confidence that Peter Reid has instilled into players who not so long ago were 5th from bottom in the league table. And Chamberlain sliced that slightly. Martin Gray got under it, partially retrieved the situation. Oh, Van Blurk, nice move, makes a bit of space for himself. But Sunderland cover well. Rogan's header there into the crowd on the far side of the field, just in front, just past the visitors' dugout. And Kubicki will take the throw. Sunderland quite happy to keep possession, I would imagine, and play out the half. If they can go in 2-0 up. There you are. The clock shows about 3 minutes to go to half time, and I'm sure Sunderland will be quite happy to keep it at 2-0. If Millwall were to get a goal back before half-time, and it doesn't look like it, then I'm sure that certain anxiety would creep into the home fans, and through them to communicate itself to the players. But certainly Millwall don't look like it at the moment. Melville takes the kick. At opposite number, Anton Rogan heads out. Thatcher completing the clearance. Slightly mistimed lunge there by Andrew Melville, and that's a free kick to the men from the New Den. Richard Ord, captain in the absence of the suspended Kevin Ball, clearing it there. Kubicki. Nice header by Craig Russell. Did well to get up there. He was being harassed from behind. Got a clean header on it. Took his goal beautifully. Nice crisp left foot finish. Look forward to seeing that again later this afternoon. And it's Stevens now clearing for Millwall. Fuchs hooks it through, and confident Kubicki. Nice nod back to Chamberlain. Oh, Martin Scott dwelling on it just a little too long. Uwe Fuchs here, who's working very hard, and looks the salvation for Millwall possibly if they're going to get one this afternoon. But that was a rather rash challenge, and what's the referee going to make of it? Both Scott and Fuchs look as if they were offended by it. A little smile there from Martin Scott. Referee got the diplomatic touch, and we wait to see whether it's going to be Jerry Lavin or Jason Van Blurk who takes the free kick. Van Blurk it is. Chamberlain takes it comfortably. No real pressure, no real height on this as such, and no power either. Wasn't driven across, requiring a touch, just a touch from either attacker or defender. It was floated across, and not a very good free kick, and Alec Chamberlain took it very comfortably. I don't think we'll have any injury time. No, we haven't. That's it. Referee decides that that's it. Eddie Lomas. 45 minutes are up. An entertaining half. Martin Scott, scorer of goal number 1. Craig Russell, scorer of goal number 2. An impressive Sunderland performance, which confirms that they look very much on the evidence of the first 45 minutes as if it's going to be Sunderland who top the Ensley League Division 1 tonight. A half-time score, Sunderland 2, Millwall 0. So the sides back on the field for the second half of this table-topping game. Sunderland against Millwall. Sunderland 2, Millwall 0. Martin Scott from the penalty spot with his 4th goal of the season, and then a magnificent goal, Craig Russell's 3rd goal of the season, after superb approach work by Martin Smith. making it 2-0 after a very convincing first half performance by Sunderland. Steve Agnew outstanding in midfield, defence very composed. Second half underway. Mr. Lomas blows his whistle. No changes. And it's Michael Gray. Michael Gray generally well held in the first half, and it took a burst through the middle to bring about the goals. Phil Gray fouled by Anton Rogan to bring up the first penalty, and then of course Craig Russell latching on to that through ball from Martin Smith to score probably the best goal of the season so far seen at Roker Park by the Wearsiders. Michael Gray got 2 men on him straight away. That's the way Millwall are playing this, as Kubicki crosses. Keller takes it under pressure from Phil Gray there, and Andy Melville. And been by far the busier of the two keepers in the first 46 minutes. And that's going to be a throw taken by fullback Gerald Lavin. Savage. It shows promise at times, Savage, but Sunderland have well held it up till now. But let's see what this brings. And Melville read it very well. Nice ball to Phil Gray along the ground, so it was a nice one for the Northern Ireland international. Didn't have to jump for it or run for it. Martin Scott. Sunderland ready for these 2 away games at Reading and Derby County, so a good result today would really set them up. This is Savage for Millwall to Alex Ray. A disappointing afternoon. That ball just about sums it up. Richard Ord, skipper for the day. Oh, this is promising. Craig Russell. And oh, well, he might have done better. He was falling away from it at the time. It was a lovely weighted chip in. Here it comes from the skipper. Right across. Phil Gray, good header on. Craig Russell, but he was leaning away from it. Couldn't quite direct it down. But otherwise, that was a good opportunity for the youngster to have got his second of the match and Sunderland's third. Nice flick on too by Phil Gray there, just inside the penalty area. Good corkscrewing header on. Richard Ord, well-weighted cross. Skipper for the day, Richard Ord, as Kevin Ball suspended, of course. Craig Russell up front on his own and doing very well, actually. And that's going to be a throw into Sunderland there. Certainly the Sunderland midfield have played very well indeed this afternoon. Steve Agnew's been in the thick of things, and there is still talk, of course, of Gareth Hall coming here from Chelsea, and the deal is still alive. It may well come to something this next week, and he would certainly strengthen the Sunderland midfield from the personnel point of view, but certainly the midfielders on the books at the moment are showing that they're a pretty dependable unit. No more so than Steve Agnew heading it forward now. He's had a good game so far. Had a good game last Sunday, perhaps went a little off the boil in the pouring rain of the second half against Crystal Palace, but he's certainly adapting well to taking over the poor Bracewell mantle while Brace gets over his hernia operation. Mr. Lomas, out comes his yellow card, and he's giving that to Chris Malkin, once of Tranmere, and out of sorts. He scored 7 goals this season, Chris Malkin, but has not really looked like pulling up any trees this afternoon. Richard Ord waving his men forward. Martin Scott in the throw. 5 minutes into the second half. And play just quiet at the moment after that near miss for Sunderland, with Craig Russell going quite close. Peter Reid now down on the bench, as he often is for the second half. No need to get anxious in the opening 45 minutes with Sunderland taking a 2-goal lead. But now Peter comes down to sit in his blue anorak there beside Steve Smelt, Paul Bracewell, Bobby Saxton, and direct operations as Sunderland move forward, as they've done for most of this game. Martin Scott now, nice Phil Gray to Martin Smith. It's now closed down, but it's Scott. That's a great goal. Martin Scott got the header in, over it came, and Phil Gray, lurking on the 6-yard area, powered his header past Casey Keller. The Millwall defence absolutely nowhere, as it was 5 minutes ago. No doubt about it. Martin Scott across, Phil Gray leaps there, completely gets between Ben Thatcher and Stevens, powers the ball into the back of the net. Beautiful goal. So Phil Gray makes it 3-0 to Sunderland in the 52nd minute, with Craig Russell getting number 2 halfway through the first half, and Martin Scott opening the scoring from the penalty spot. It's Sunderland 3, Millwall 0. And if you care to throw in that Phil Gray header that went over the top where it perhaps should have gone under in the opening minutes, and a Craig Russell header that was saved by Keller, then it really could have been a rout today. But Sunderland in great shape, 3-0 up, and that is a fair reflection of the play. Phil Gray, 7th of the season, as Kubicki plays it long. Craig Russell, who's worked tirelessly up front, full of confidence, the youngster, enjoying playing in a successful side, which is something he's not really had the pleasure of doing since he first showed promise in the books here at Local Park. Martin Scott out now to Martin Smith, and in comes Richard Ord. Richard Ord's had 1 or 2 forays down that left side, and nearly produced a goal for Craig Russell just after half-time. Millwall building pretty carefully, but not really shown very much shape this afternoon, and Mick McCarthy will have no excuses. It's Ben Thatcher now. His marking was sadly at fault there when Phil Gray went in for the crucial header that brought the 3rd goal. Then one could ask questions of the marking of Ben Thatcher and Keith Stevens in the Millwall defence. And there is Kubicki, his 90th game, and a very happy one too for him and the club. Well taken by Alec Chamberlain. Easy one, just under the bar. And really the Sunderland keeper hasn't had a break sweat at all this afternoon. We're going to win the league, chant the crowd. Well, they're going some way towards that. At the end of this afternoon, they are going to be 3 points clear of Millwall. They're going to have scored more goals, and they've got 2 games in hand. And that, at the moment, is promotion form. Thatcher threading it down the left wing. That was a slightly loose clearance, but Malkin can't get anything out of it. Keith Stevens, the Millwall skipper, to Lavin. And that's Martin Scott. Not the best of headers there, though. But once again, Steve Agnew gets in. The referee doesn't like it. Gives a free kick against him. And the Sunderland midfielder isn't too happy about that, but it typifies his determined challenge all this afternoon. He's got stuck in, he's won the ball, and not given Millwall a minute to settle on it. Remember that Sunderland won 2-1 at the New Den earlier in the season. Goals from Martin Scott penalty and from Martin Smith. Chamberlain, I think, thought he was going to catch that, then decided he could comfortably leave it. Just asks his defence to shout for it, keep the lines of communication going, and all will be well. 3-0. Crowd in great form, great move. Who can blame them? It's a while since Sunderland were in such stunning form at home. A lot of that early season promise that they displayed when they were away, but they're now beginning to display here. Gray again. Out goes a keeper, unorthodox, but effective. And one's reminded, in fact, that although none of the Sunderland players at the moment are on a hat-trick, the last player to get a hat-trick was Don Goodman against Millwall some 3, nearly 4 years ago. Gray. 3-0 at the moment. No, couldn't quite pull that one back. 2 players in the middle there. Acknowledges that. But, Michael Gray had arrived. Martin Smith had arrived. But, Gray looks happy, very relaxed. Got a goal. And that will help to re-cement the relationship between the Northern Ireland International and the Roker fans after his transfer request last week had just led to a mixed reception for him when he came on as substitute against Crystal Palace. That's Martin Gray, back from his loan spell at Fulham to help the emergency in midfield. No, Michael can't get past Thatcher. I must say that Thatcher has he's a very highly regarded left back, and he's certainly not giving Michael Gray too much room this afternoon. And he's got the ball again. Blurk there. And there's a long one for Chris Malkin to chase, the former Tranmere player. And well, some might have thought the referee might have given it, but it was a free kick, but not so. Kubicki and Michael Gray just having their problems against Malkin and Alex Ray. And, well, that for me didn't look as much an offence as the one just 2 or 3 tackles ago. But referee Eddie Lomas thinks otherwise, and that's going to be a free kick to the visitors. Referee the Sunderland game at Tranmere, Eddie Lomas. And done a good job this afternoon. Anton Rogan, 16 caps for Northern Ireland, old boy of this club, Sunderland, gave away the penalty, gave his old club their opening goal. And Craig Russell just got a little too much power on that, but the throw-in runs straight through there to goalkeeper Casey Keller. Thatcher, that was a risky thing to do by the left back. Michael Gray nearly punished him for it. Oh, now Steve Agnew, can he profit from this now? Rogan whacks it clear. And really, Millwall all at 6s and 7s. A bad day for them. They're in a bad run. They've just got 2 points out of 5 games. They've lost the last 3 games, and things not too happy at all. Indeed, last season they flattered to deceive. They played well early in the season, then they faded and ended up finishing 12th. Phil Gray. And Martin Smith got on the end of that. He does indeed. Oh, there's a chance for it. It's there. What a great goal from Craig Russell. Phil Gray started it onto Martin Smith, overgave the cross. Millwall defence absolutely nowhere. And there was Craig Russell flinging himself in to nod in number 4. 4-0 to Sunderland after 58 minutes. Look at no Millwall defence at all. Ben Thatcher says it all. Where is everybody? Absolutely split apart by this Sunderland display. Well, when Don Goodman got his hat-trick against Millwall 3 years ago, it was 6-2 to the Wearsiders. I wonder if they're going to go nap today or get 6. But it's certainly a tremendous performance. The crowd, great spirits, great voice. As I say, it's Christmas come early. And there's no challenge here, really, from Millwall. Certainly, it's going to put the side in great shape to go down to Reading and Derby County before they come home here to face Grimsby on Boxing Day and Birmingham City, the last opponents of 1995. That could be nasty. He's gone over the advertising hoarding. He's taken a bit of a tumble there. I think that looks like the Dave Savage. Steve Smelt, one of the first on the scene. A commercially orientated steward puts the advertising straight back up. But we hope he's not too badly hurt. Took a bit of a tumble. Anyway, Fuchs now jostling there with Martin Gray, but the Sunderland man wins it, and back to his goalkeeper. Going to win the league, say the crowd, and who can say that they're wrong on this afternoon's show? Well, a chance for Millwall now. And Blurk inside there looking for Doyle, but it's not been Doyle's day really. What can Savage do? Restored to action. Gets the ball across anyway. Did well there, but it's one of the first times that Millwall have really threatened. And Richard Ord getting cross again with his defence. Where were you? What's happening? And so on. And putting himself about. Acted the skipper, asking questions, even though Sunderland are 4 up. No time for slackness here. A mean machine in defence, only 15 goals conceded. Could have caused problems that. It swung in. There's no real wind to assist it at all. Unfortunately, there was no Millwall head on the end of it. But it obviously eluded everybody, and it's a goal kick. And the referee just having a word there with Alex Ray, not for the first time this afternoon. The Scotsman's a little bit out of sorts, and that's the Millwall bench. Mick McCarthy having plenty to say. A resolute centre-half in his Barnsley and Manchester City days. 57 caps for the Republic of Ireland. And Ian Evans, his assistant, who of course played for Wales, Queen's Park Rangers. I'm sure between them they'll have a fair bit to say, and have a fair bit to say to the players after this performance, which will not have gone down very well with the straight-talking Irish international. Blunt Yorkshireman with an Irish pedigree, Mick McCarthy. A Jack Charlton Irishman. Craig Russell. Back now to Scott. Give and go with Martin Smith, but it's Millwall managed to clear it. Richard Ord. Kubicki. Millwall instantly, you see. Kubicki straight in, challenges Malkin. Malkin has no time at all to settle on the ball, and Sunderland win. And we get the free kick here. Steve Agnew initially going to take it, so was Martin Gray. Martin Gray still is going to take it. I think they thought Andy Miller was coming up. Gives it to Richard Ord. Martin Scott. Martin Smith. And a long one from Scott there for Phil Gray to chase. Phil Gray, who got goal number 3. Martin Smith in the bottom corner there. Tantalising Joel Lavin. Right foot cross for Smith. Neat header back on again. Again, that move that Sunderland have worked on, obviously, in training. The little flick to the edge of the penalty area. The back header across the goal. Has produced dividends this afternoon. Notably for Craig Russell with the 3rd goal. Ray here to Malkin. Doesn't get a foot in. Comes out to Thatcher. To Malkin. One-legged Malkin. To Doyle. To Lavin. Savage. Back to Doyle. Well, a hopeful shot. Miss-hit by Doyle. He laboured there about Millwall's build-up. There's a difference between a patient build-up and a laboured build-up. And Millwall's comes into the latter. Nice one, Phil Gray to Craig Russell now. Is he on a hat-trick or not? He's got 2 of the 4. Martin Smith sliced it behind. And or did it take a deflection? It took a deflection. And it's going to be a corner to Sunderland, which Martin Gray, when he's sorted out his tie-ups, Martin Gray, Martin Smith, when he's sorted out his tie-ups, will take. 4-0 to Sunderland, and we've still got 25 minutes to go. And a few instructions there in the Millwall defence. Lee McRobert has come on. As Mick McCarthy rings the changes. Uwe Fuchs back there in defence as well, helping out. Big strong player, perhaps lacks a little touch of speed. Perhaps that's what persuaded Brian Robson not to keep him down at Ayresome Park. Right wing corner, which Michael Gray is going to take here. Absolutely still, as you can see from that flag. This could be interesting for Sunderland. Now, Kubicki, though, he is going to find Michael Gray. Michael Gray's not got much change out of Thatcher this afternoon. He's got to get round McRobert, though. Crosses right-footed there, you notice, and wins a corner. Oh, had a torrid time this afternoon. 4-0. Martin Scott, Craig Russell 2, and Phil Gray, the goal scorers. 4-0, and it might have been more. Safety first by Martin Scott. Lavin stabs it forward there. And the Millwall players goes down. Referee won't take any notice of his appeal for a challenge by Steve Agnew there. And understandably, Alec Chamberlain wants all the Sunderland players up as fast as possible. A towering clearance, no doubt, here. Get things underway. Certainly, Sunderland's most effective thrusts of the day have tended to come down the left in the second half and through the middle in the first half. 2-0 at half-time if you missed the first half for any reason. Martin Scott. Nothing coming of that. And Millwall certainly going to be a thoughtful long journey home for them tonight. And Steve Agnew closing down Millwall as he's done so successfully so far today. And a positive run forward there from Van Blurk. And this is Lee McRobert. Played in midweek in the defeat by Charlton at the New Den. This is Martin Smith. Can he break? No, he can't quite get through. It was a good challenge by McRobert. To Doyle, and then played out to Van Blurk. The Australian out on the left. To Doyle. And Millwall, really, they've run out of ideas, I think, of how to get through this very competent Sunderland midfield and defence. And one has to say that one wonders quite how Millwall have managed to get to the top of the league if they can play like this, but presumably they will say that it's Sunderland's skill and perhaps it just isn't their day. They're in a bad run at the moment. It's going to be 2 points out of 6 games for them at the end of this one, as Sunderland go on to 1 defeat out of 14 and their 4th successive home win. That's going to be a goal kick. No real pattern to the Millwall play. So Sunderland will pick up their 4th win in succession at Roker Park, and it's a while since that happened. Remember, they've beaten Barnsley 2-1, beaten Sheffield United 2-0, Crystal Palace 1-0, and now at the moment they've beaten Millwall 4-0. And the number of goals they've conceded in that time has been pretty minimal. Only 15 all season. Nice run here, threaded through here for Craig Russell. Is this the hat-trick? Bounces free there to Michael Gray, but just intercepted in the nick of time. So Craig Russell, very sharp, putting Millwall under pressure. Nicely weighted ball through here from Martin Scott. In goes Craig, doesn't quite get there, and Millwall cover across and concede the corner. 4-0, and we've got just under 20 minutes to go of an entertaining game. Michael Gray. Too long. In fact, Phil Gray ran inside the corner there instead of staying out beyond the back post. And it's Doyle. Sprays it out there to Savage. Savage. Well closed by Martin Gray. And it's Martin Scott who supplies the long ball that Casey Keller eventually has to fly kick clear. Phil Gray and Keith Stevens help each other up after that little tussle, and Sunderland get the resultant throw-in. A game which people who've gone Christmas shopping will be sorry to have missed. In fact, Martin Gray to Martin Scott. And that's Phil Gray trying to go through there. Keith Stevens keeping a close watch on Phil Gray. He'll be leaving the Millwall scene for a short while soon, Keith Stevens, because he's got a lot of penalty points. And another substitution for Millwall brings on Scott Taylor as Phil Gray pulling it back there. That's it, and that's Craig Russell's hat-trick. Phil Gray the provider again. 17 minutes to go, so the 73rd minute, it's Sunderland 5, Millwall 0, and Craig Russell, the hat-trick hero of Roker Park and Wearside. Watch this. Gray turns, loses his marker. Stevens again hooks it across, and Craig Russell, despite the attention of two Millwall defenders, rose and nodded it in so easily. 5-0, Craig Russell 3, Phil Gray 1, and Martin Scott. 2-0 at half-time, 5-0 now, and time for still more. Sunderland go nap 5-0 over the team this morning at the top of the league. So no doubt about it, Wearside will be at the top of the First Division tonight. Martin Gray pushed down here. I think he'll get a free kick for that. Not any great problem. Peter Reid still wants it to go. That's it, the clenched fist. Get on, don't slack it off. Start again. 5-0, crack on. Helps the goals total this, and that could well be crucial later on in the season, because Sunderland, of course, for a while now, if not for several seasons, have lacked the capacity to get goals. Here they come again. Good turn by Russell. Didn't quite get through. The ball running for Sunderland at times, it has to be said. But they've now scored 27 goals compared to Millwall's 24. And that's a very useful boost for their goal difference, which was a little uninspiring before the start of this game. And also, if nothing succeeds like success, it's a great boost for morale and confidence in the team. Richard Ord there forward to Martin Gray. Nice to see Martin come back and share in the celebrations today. He's been in the shadows a little bit here at Roker Park, and of course he's been down to Fulham on loan when he had the strange experience of being sent off with mistaken identity. Craig Russell out there to Michael Gray. The crowd cheering every pass as well. Nice sinewy move here. Not a bad effort. Casey Keller moved a little slowly, I thought there. Some might say he had it covered, but he went down in a rather laboured fashion. And if that ball had been a yard to the right, I wonder if the American keeper would have got across to him. Michael Gray's been pretty well handled this afternoon by Ben Thatcher, the promising Millwall left back. But of course that has created opportunities elsewhere for Sunderland, notably down the left and through the middle. There's Agnew, and Kubicki getting each other's way, but here's Michael Gray, released on the right. Tries to go inside because he's a naturally left-sided player, so instinctively cuts inside, and of course Millwall have sorted that one. And Michael Gray puts his hand up, hopes that perhaps the referee might give him a free kick, but no job. One of the players, one of the many players who've really benefited since Peter Reid came to the club, and playing with a tremendous enthusiasm, flair, and a really positive and incisive approach. Michael Gray. 5-0. Hat-trick hero, Craig Russell. 3 Sunderland players in for that ball against 2 Millwall players. That's a sign of the spirit here at Roker Park. Whether Martin Smith will get away with that? No. Brother Lavin will get the free kick as we've got about 13 minutes to go. 5-0 to Sunderland, and they've not seen a day like this at Roker Park for quite some time. Good clearance by Casey Keller, and throwing to Sunderland. Alex Ray's been a disappointment this afternoon. He's not really got into the game, really enjoyed himself, and McCarthy will have the difficult job really of lifting this Millwall side that's very definitely gone off the boil in the last month. Good play here by Kubicki. Craig Russell, man of the moment, turns well. Ooh, that's such a nice one. Agnew's there, looking for his second goal of the season. Keller read it well, and the waiting on it was just a little too great for Steve Agnew to get to, and Keller came out and spread himself and took it well. But all the Sunderland players, I think, this afternoon will feel that they've contributed. They've had a good game. Oh, that's a beautiful skill. Phil Gray got space here. Can he cross it? Yes, he can. And it's Craig Russell. Is this number 4? No! How did he miss it? My God. Well, he'll be thinking about his hat-trick that he did get, but he might even think of the 1 or 2 that he might have got as well. Look at this. Credit to Casey Keller. He came out, spread himself, saved well, but really, perhaps Craig Russell, if he'd first timed it, come across, might have made it count. Martin Smith. Millwall defence again, gone walkies completely. Nobody there. And I think that Millwall players will be just dying to hear that final whistle, which is in about 11 minutes time here, because on the receiving end of this 5-0 drubbing, which is going to put daylight between Sunderland and the rest of the league. Michael Gray really coming into his own now in the last quarter of an hour of this game. McRobert inside there to Alex Ray, to Savage, and Sunderland defence, which has had a fairly easy second half, it has to be said. Millwall haven't really threatened, and there's going to be no challenge from that particular approach. And not too many fans leaving here at the moment. It's been a good gate this afternoon, and they obviously want to stay and see if the lads are going to get any more goals. They've got 10 minutes to go, 5-0 up at the moment, and every indication that Sunderland might get 1 or 2 more. Certainly, if you look back at the missed opportunities, Phil Gray might have scored 1, Craig Russell might have scored another 2, and so it could have been quite a scoreline this afternoon. It could in some ways have been the biggest scoreline in Sunderland's favour since they annihilated Southend 7-0 here way back in 1987. Richard Ord's held the line this afternoon, and certainly he hasn't really tolerated any slackness on the part of any other defenders. This is Doyle. Stevens. Possibility here. Not really, too much waiting on the ball. No real threat. And Millwall will no doubt have a bit of thinking to do, while Sunderland celebrate. Alec Chamberlain certainly had one of his easier days. Now, what can Uwe Fuchs do? Can he get some consolation from Millwall? McRobert. Sunderland defence are well back. Agnew's in there, spoiling, breaking up the raid. That's nice, very cool. Martin Gray out to Michael Gray. And Millwall stretched, having been forward there. Just let them get back a little bit. It's Martin Gray. Martin Scott, Steve Agnew. A brisk challenge on Phil Gray by Keith Stevens. Nothing wrong with it though. But Sunderland come back again. Agnew it is. What a good one now from Richard Ord rather. And nobody hears the whistle, which is going to work in Sunderland's advantage. The linesman's flag is up. And goalkeeper Chamberlain just tees it up. 5-0. 7 minutes to go. And Craig Russell get on the end of that. Nigel Lemon consigns it briskly into the crowd. Very sharp this afternoon. Going to do wonders for his confidence. He's gone from 2 goals to 5 goals in his aggregate. Martin Smith, nice little prod through there. Martin Gray. Craig Russell shoots. Great effort on the turn. Quick one. Kaiser Keller well placed just beside the post. Took it comfortably, but it was a nice little pass just dinked through by Martin Gray. And Millwall coming back. Van Blurk. Oh. Almost a slow motion fall for Grace there, and he's going to get the free kick. There's Darius, who's not really given any quarter this afternoon, and is it going to be McRobert who takes it? No, it's not as if it is. Looks as if it's Savage who's come over, in fact. McRobert runs over it, Savage flicks it across, headed out by the Sunderland defence to Doyle, Maurice Doyle. Agnew again, back, sitting just in front of the back 4 there. It's Van Blurk it is, who's stabbed it out here to substitute Scott Taylor. But let's see if Michael Gray can produce a great moment towards the end of the game to really set the seal on what's been a very fine Sunderland performance. It looked as if it was Van Blurk there who'd kicked the ball away a little. Andy Melville it is who's going to take it. As we enter or approach the last 5 minutes. Richard Ord, nice control there. Out to Kubicki. Kubicki goes for the long one. What can Craig Russell do? He's on fire this afternoon. Hat-trick man so far, another 2 chances missed. For Michael Gray, and such a lot of youth in this team as well. There's Kubicki to Melville. Sunderland quite sensibly keeping the ball now. All right, they're 5 up. Why give a go there? Draw Millwall out and look to get one. That won't wash with the referee. Uwe Fuchs fouling Richard Ord. And the German from Kaiserslautern retreats as Richard Ord takes the free kick. No danger. It's a nasty crack there for Martin Smith. A few boots flying in a fairly harmless way, but he took a bit of a stunner on the head. And whether he's ready to receive Martin Scott's throw, I don't know. Dogged covering by Sunderland there, and Steve Agnew's judged to be too dogged, and it's going to be a free kick to Millwall. Sunderland leading 5-0. Prepare to go ahead of Millwall at the top of the table. They'll be 3 goals better off as far as goals scored go. They'll be 3 points better off, and they've got 2 games in hand. That's over Millwall, and they've got a game in hand over Leicester and Norwich as well, and Grimsby in the chasing pack. So Sunderland are going to be up there to be shot at starting next week against Reading and Derby County. Lavin plays a long ball forward, more in hope than anything else. Sunderland football their way out of that. Richard Ord floating it forward. Phil Gray's there to receive. Richard Ord again. This time it's Craig Russell bringing it down. Sprayed across by Martin Gray. This is Michael Gray. Kubicki's can't get there. 3 minutes. Barely 3 minutes to go. We've not really had any stoppages. Physios haven't been on. And I've no doubt that referee Eddie Lomas will blow his whistle on the button at the end of the 90 minutes. And it's one man who will be glad to hear that whistle. Casey Keller, a dismal time last Saturday against Watford. At fault with at least one Watford goal. And he couldn't really be blamed this afternoon. He had a pretty tatty defence in front of him. 5 minutes. That's a good run by Savage, but he ran out of steam. Nicely brought down. Well, I thought he brought it down, Steve Agnew. Didn't quite run for him. Doyle with the clearance. Martin Gray checks, holds the ball, slides it back. That's all Sunderland need to do. Useful practice in holding the ball, keeping their shape, keeping their lead intact. Good challenge. Good challenge there by Martin Gray. Another Martin Scott now. Going for the long one. Too long, nobody there. No real pace on that. Karuve Fuchs. It's a nice little ball by Michael Gray there through to Martin Gray, and there's Martin Smith. Could be useful. Martin Gray lets it run to Steve Agnew. And Kubicki now. Sunderland sticking the passes together very nicely. Craig Russell, Michael Gray. Last minute into injury time, I make it, in fact. Not that there's been much of that. Kubicki. Craig Russell looking for goal number 4. May get it. Shoots. Oh, that's a cracker. He's got it. 6 on the whistle. On the death, Craig Russell makes it 4. That's John Goodman got the last Sunderland hat-trick against Millwall in 1992 when Sunderland won 6-2. Well, they're winning 6-0 and Craig Russell has rattled in 4 of them. So there'll be a few people sitting up and taking notice there. Always a useful, promising prospect, suffered by playing in teams lacking confidence and success, and now Craig Russell has come good. Final whistle, and Sunderland convincing winners, clear top of the league by 3 points, 2 games in hand, 4 goals for Craig Russell, a penalty goal for Martin Scott, a goal for Phil Gray, his 7th of the season. That puts Phil Gray on 7, Craig Russell on 6. A full house at Roker Park and 6 goals from their heroes. Sunderland lead the Ensley League Division 1 tonight. Deservedly so. A great afternoon. A fine performance from Sunderland. It's Sunderland 6, Millwall 0. Peter, 6-0, a complete performance, taking you clear at the top of the league.
Yeah, it's always nice to have a clean sheet, but some of the attacking play this afternoon was first class. I'm delighted. To be fair, we've been threatening to do this to somebody, and it's unfortunate for Millwall that it was them.
And of course, it didn't seem to be a weak link in the team. Craig, 4 goals?
Yeah, I just thought, I mean, you mentioned a complete performance. We just went out there and we were solid at the back, and we got down the sides, down the wings, crossed quality into the box and then finished it, which is delightful from my point of view and for the players as well.
And the ironic thing was it could have been more.
Well, that's football. It could have been. We created an awful lot of chances today, and all credit to the players. They were first class.
And Phil Gray, of course, after the problems of the last fortnight, goal for him.
Well, we haven't had any problems. He just wanted a transfer. That happens in football, but I thought he typified us today. He was tremendous. If he had to pick one, I think Richard Ord was outstanding.
Skipper as well, and of course Martin Gray back in the reckoning.
Yeah, I mean, since I've been at the club, I've used all my squad of players, and everyone who comes in and does a job. Well, everyone who comes in does a great job for me. Same happened again today. But
the whole team was bubbling with confidence, wasn't it?
Yeah. We want to get the ball down and play, and like I said before, we've been threatening to do this for some time now, and it just come right today.
Craig, 4 goals. Which was your favourite?
The first one, I would say so. Great ball through, ran onto it. There's a friend that was breathing down my neck, and I've managed to get a good strike on it in the bottom corner.
A nice start. And then, of course, 2 headers. That's unusual for Craig Russell.
Yeah, very unusual. I think if I'd have said to somebody else score with 2 headers, it would have left us off the field, you know. But I've managed it, and hopefully there's more to come.
But you felt the whole team was right for it today, didn't you, really?
Oh, yeah, the lads were right up for it. I have to thank Tippy, who has played really well alongside us, you know, in the whole of the side. Magnificent.
And yet, of course, let's face it, earlier this afternoon, you didn't really know whether you were playing or not.
True enough. Playing the reserves midweek, managed to get a goal in, which did me the chances no harm, you know. So, and the gaffer stuck us in. What more can I say, really?
Is this the first time he scored 4 goals?
I have done in the past in like junior sides, but it's the first time I've managed it in the Football League.
And Michael Gray. Oh my goodness me, nearly an opening first blood to Phil Gray there. Nice in-swinging corner there from Michael Gray, and his namesake Phil has been at odds with the management. Times his run well here. Look into the 6-yard area, gets it well, and perhaps might have just got over it and nodded it down. As it was, he topped it and it went just over the bar. Flicked out nicely by Craig Russell. Up comes Kubicki now. 90th game for Sunderland. He hasn't scored yet, drills it in, and Keller goes down, saves well, but another good effort by Kubicki. He's been encouraged by Peter Reid to get forward, get into shooting positions, and have a go. He did that against Crystal Palace. It's a fine surging run, look. Through, gets the ball again on his left foot, not perhaps his strongest foot, but it was a good, crisp shot all along the ground. And this is going to be Martin Gray, or is it going to be Michael Gray who takes the throw? It's going to be Michael. Kubicki. This could be interesting. Oh, now, yes, penalty, no doubt about it at all. Phil Gray turned very quickly on Anton Rogan. His legs went, and there seemed to be little doubt at all that that collision. Watch it now. There we are, straight down. There seemed to be little doubt there that the tackle by one Northern Ireland international on another was going to bring about a penalty kick. So this could be first blood to Sunderland after some 13 minutes. And it's going to be Martin Scott, scorer of 2 penalties already. Nice one. Sunderland a goal up. No problem, says Martin Scott. One finger in the air, but in fact that's his 3rd penalty success of the season. It's his 4th goal. The other one came from a free kick against Watford. Very cool. Casey Keller dived completely the wrong way. Sunderland getting players right behind the ball. Tremendous willingness to work hard. Doyle. Thatcher. Now, Millwall trying to create something. Just coming into it now. Not a bad cross. Oh, my goodness me. That was moments of anxiety in the Sunderland defence. It was skipper Richard Ord who got there in the end and sliced it over the bar. But really, Uwe Fuchs nearly got away. Watch him. Onto the far side of the goal, just wide of the far post. And he manages to flick it back. And it looked really as if Alec Chamberlain had it covered. But Richard Ord was there just in time anyway, and just in case, to whip it over the bar. Oh, that's a wretched one from Doyle. Sunderland dispatched that fairly quickly, but Millwall having a useful little spell just at the moment. Lovely ball from Agnew now. Martin Smith. Has he got support though? Yes, great run through the middle there, in fact. Great run there by Craig Russell. Oh, that's a great goal! Craig Russell, superb run there. Martin Smith just held up his run, delayed things till Craig Russell overtook him, released it at just the right time, and Craig Russell timed his left foot shot so beautifully, just inside that upright. Here it comes again. Martin Smith brings it down beautifully on his left foot while still keeping moving. Look at Craig Russell going through the middle like a tank, just inside the area. Cracks it wide of Casey Keller. What a superbly orchestrated goal. So we've been playing for half an hour. Martin Scott, the scorer of the first goal from the penalty spot. And now Craig Russell makes it 2-0. And Sunderland can already see that league table with themselves sitting 3 points ahead of Millwall and 2 games in hand. And, well done, Craig Russell. Player of great promise here at Sunderland. He's perhaps hasn't moved as quickly as some people felt he would in terms of development, but he is young, and a lot was expected of him in the days when the team was struggling, and he certainly took his goal very well. And that's a lovely ball there across to Phil Gray. Now what can Phil Gray do? Can he get a shot? Delayed his shot, and he pulled it across the goal. This is Savage for Millwall to Alex Ray. Had a disappointing afternoon. That ball just about sums it up. Richard Ord, skipper for the day. Oh, this is promising. Craig Russell. And oh, well, he might have done better. He was falling away from it at the time. It was a lovely weighted chip in. Here it comes from the skipper. Right across. Phil Gray, good header on, Craig Russell, but he was leaning away from it, couldn't quite direct it down. Direct operations as Sunderland move forward, as they've done for most of this game. Martin Scott. Now, nice Phil Gray to Martin Smith. Now, closed down, but it's Scott. That's a great goal. Martin Scott got the header in, over it came, and Phil Gray, lurking on the 6-yard area, powered his header past Casey Keller. The Millwall defence absolutely nowhere, as it was 5 minutes ago. No doubt about it. Martin Scott across, Phil Gray leaps there, completely gets between Ben Thatcher and Stevens, powers the ball into the back of the net. Beautiful goal. So Phil Gray makes it 3-0 to Sunderland in the 52nd minute, with Craig Russell getting number 2 halfway through the first half, and Martin Scott opening the scoring from the penalty spot. It's Sunderland 3, Millwall 0. All at 6s and 7s. A bad day for them. They're in a bad run. They've just got 2 points out of 5 games. They've lost the last 3 games, and things not too happy at all. Indeed, last season they flattered to deceive. They played well early in the season, then they faded and ended up finishing 12th. Phil Gray. Can Martin Smith get on the end of that? He does indeed. Always a chance for. It's there. What a great goal from Craig Russell. Phil Gray started it onto Martin Smith, overcame the cross. Millwall defence absolutely nowhere, and there was Craig Russell flinging himself in to nod in number 4. 4-0 to Sunderland after 58 minutes. Look at no Millwall defence at all. Now at the moment they're beating Millwall 4-0, and the number of goals they've conceded in that time has been pretty minimal. Only 15 all season. Nice run here, threaded through here for Craig Russell. Is this the hat-trick? Bounces free there to Michael Gray, but just intercepted in the nick of time. And another substitution for Millwall. Brings on Scott Taylor as Phil Gray pulling it back there. That's it, and that's Craig Russell's hat-trick. Phil Gray the provider again. 17 minutes to go, so the 73rd minute, it's Sunderland 5, Millwall 0, and Craig Russell, the hat-trick hero of Roker Park and Wearside. Watch this. Gray turns, loses his marker. Stevens again hooks it across, and Craig Russell, despite the attention of 2 Millwall defenders, rose and nodded it in so easily. 5-0. Craig Russell 3, Phil Gray 1, and Martin Scott. 2-0 at half-time, 5-0 now, and time for still more. Sunderland go nap 5-0 over the team this morning at the top of the league. Martin Gray, nice to see Martin come back and share in the celebrations today. He's been in the shadows a little bit here at Roker Park, and of course he's been now to Fulham on loan when he had the strange experience of being sent off with mistaken identity. Craig Russell out there too, Michael Gray. The crowd cheering every pass, as well they might. Nice sinewy move here, not a bad effort. Casey Keller moved a little slowly, I thought there, but all the Sunderland players, I think, this afternoon will feel that they've contributed. They've had a good game. Oh, that's a beautiful skill. Phil Gray got space here. Can he cross it? Yes, he can. And it's Craig Russell. Is this number 4? No, how did he miss it? My God. Well, it's a nice little ball by Michael Gray there through to Martin Gray, and that was Martin Smith. Could be useful. Martin Gray lets it run to Steve Agnew, and Kubicki now. Sunderland sticking the passes together very nicely. Craig Russell, Michael Gray. Last minute into injury time, I make it, in fact. Not that there's been much of that. Kubicki. Craig Russell looking for goal number 4. May get it. Shoots. Oh, that's a cracker. He's got it. 6 on the whistle. On the death, Craig Russell makes it 4. That's Don Goodman got the last Sunderland hat-trick against Millwall in 1992 when Sunderland won 6-2. Well, they're winning 6-0, And Craig Russell has rattled in 4 of them.